All right, prepare for impeachment. That's what 2020 Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell says. And as Mike talked about, the pressure on Pelosi is now heating up to make a decision. So let's bring in Democratic strategist Dave Brown and editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro. Gentlemen, welcome to you both.
Hey, Shannon.
Okay, I want to read a tweet from Robert Barnes, who actually is a very well-known attorney. He's going to be on the show a little bit later to talk about some more of these things. He says this today. Mueller says, never could charge a crime against Trump. Mueller, unfair to accuse a person who cannot defend himself at trial. Mueller, let me accuse a person who cannot defend himself at trial after spending $40 million investigating a crime I couldn't charge. Hashtag Mueller is a fraud. Dave, you know the comparisons he's getting today, how a lot of the Hillary Clinton people felt after James Comey came out and did a similar song and dance, the critics would say. How do you respond?
Well, I think the OLC memo is something that we need to take a serious look at. The idea that a sitting president essentially is immune from any kind of action outside of impeachment, because obviously impeachment is an incredibly grave action for any Congress to take. And I think we're now seeing a convergence of pressures and interests here, because Mueller felt that his hands were tied by this memo and by this longstanding Department of Justice policy. But I mean, I don't know this lawyer, and I certainly don't agree with his characterization here. I mean, the reality is that what Bob Mueller did was lay out a meticulous case in his report of all of the instances in which arguably there is a provable issue of obstruction of justice. And today, he, I think, to the extent that he could, passed the baton to Congress and said, this is something that every American needs to care about.
Well, and from the time that the Barr released the report and summarized for Congress, I mean, there have been Democrats saying he's given us a roadmap to impeachment. That's what this was always about. Here is what Congressman Jerry Nadler said today. He's the chair of the House Judiciary Committee. That is where impeachment would start.
Therefore, as Mueller again highlighted this morning, it falls to Congress to respond to the crimes, lies, and other wrongdoing of President Trump.
And what's the pro and con of the Democrats going down this path?
Well, I think that Democrats have to be very wary of the fact that Mueller didn't actually recommend indictment. Now, here's part of the problem here. Mueller didn't make clear whether, in the absence of the DOJ memo, whether he actually would indict. Now, there are a lot of Democrats saying, well, that was the only thing stopping him from moving forward with an obstruction of justice recommendation. But that's not what Mueller said. What he said is there's a threshold issue here. The threshold issue is the DOJ ruling that a president can't be indicted. And therefore, I'm not even going to reach to the actual underlying issue of whether the president, in the absence of the DOJ ruling, would be indicted. And so that's basically left everybody looking around going, OK, so what were you here to do? You are an executive branch employee. Congress has its own investigatory powers. You were not positioned or created. Your job was not created to create an impeachment roadmap. Your job was created to presumably uncover criminal activity that was therefore prosecutable. If he knew from the very beginning he couldn't prosecute any of this, then what exactly was your job, and why did we just spend tens of millions of dollars pursuing it?
Yeah, and Dave, I mean, how do you respond to several recent polls over the last few weeks saying, OK, enough already, the American people are ready to move on. They trust that Mueller did his job. They're fine with the conclusions, and they're ready to move on to some legislating and doing some other things. I mean, do Democrats proceed down this, we're going to keep investigating, we're going to impeach path at their own peril, or will it pay dividends for them?
Well, I mean, the polls are all over the place, to answer the question directly. And look, I guess, I mean, this is the problem with Washington. We're looking at this through this pure political prism, and it's the game of who's on top, who's going to win. I mean, I actually think we need to look at this beyond just zero sum. I mean, there are very serious issues that are being implicated anytime you're putting impeachment on the table. And if there is conduct that potentially rises to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors by a sitting president, then we need to have that conversation. And we need to have that conversation to the extent it is possible, divorced from partisan politics. Obviously, impeachment is fundamentally a political standard, but I would love to see this divorced from partisanship. I will say this. You know, Nancy Pelosi has, I think, been unerring and leading with a steady hand the caucus. She is legislating. She has authorized a robust investigation agenda, and you're seeing that borne out through the fights in the courts over subpoenas. And so the House is doing the people's work. They're passing bills, and they're conducting the kind of constitutional oversight that should be conducted by a co-equal branch of government. So, again, I think that you can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Okay, final word to Ben.
Well, they haven't walked or chewed gum. They've not passed a single bill that has passed the Senate. And when it comes to these investigations, Nancy Pelosi is basically slow walking this stuff. Nancy Pelosi she wants the political benefits of being able to rail against the president without the political cost of actually having to put her money where her mouth is and then push for impeachment.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to leave it there. That's the political side. Dave and Ben, thank you both very much.